Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another exciting installment of Daily Pali Reading. Today we're continuing our reading in the Rupaaññasuttaṃ. Our passage, Samodhaniyang kattang saraniyang viti saretva ekam antang nisidi, ekam antang nisino ko vachagoto paribhajako bhagavantang etata vocha. So we continue here with Vachagota. We see another absolutive, Viti Saretva. You can look this up under Viti. This group of four words, Samodhaniyang Katang Saraniyang Viti Saretva, is a stock phrase. Viti Saretva, the Saretva comes from Sareti, which actually comes from Sarati, like to remember, to cause to remember. Here, the sense seems to be to cause to exchange or just to exchange greetings, samodhaniyang, and that, of course, connects with the earlier verb of samodati that we had. We had the aorist of that. Then we have kattang, which is not the interrogative how, but it is from katta, a feminine noun. Talk, speech, discourse. Saraniyang, and which means kind of like polite, cordial. So often this phrase is translated as having exchanged pleasant and cordial greetings, something along those lines. Ekam antang nisidi. Now the subject here is still Vachagota from before. He sat down. Nisidi is the third person singular present, or the third person singular aorist, active indicative. Nisidi from nisidati. He sat down to one side. Ekam antang. Now this is the components of this are actually eka and antang. Antang means a side, as in like the side of something. Eka is one. So you could say he sat to one side, he sat aside the Buddha. If you say it that way, you get a sense of how this is sort of a seeming object of the verb. It could be an accusative being used adverbially. So he sat one-sidedly doesn't make as much sense, but aside, he sat to one side. Again, because of the absolutive, we could express this as he exchanged pleasant and cordial talk with the Buddha, understood, and sat down to one side. The next sentence, nisino, is not an absolutive. It is a perfect passive participle. And it kind of functions the same way. Seated to one side. Then, ko, vachagoto paribhajako, the wandering ascetic Vachagota, said this, etad avocha, to the Blessed One. We've had Vachagoto paribhajako before. Paribhajako is a nominative singular masculine noun. Vachagoto is in apposition. It's describing the wanderer, telling us the name of the wanderer. The interesting thing here, or a couple of interesting things, is we have etad avocha. Avocha is the actual verb part here. Avocha, third person singular. Third person singular, aorist active indicative. And then etad is etang, this. Etang before a vowel will become etad. The D will assert itself. So he said, or Vachagota said this, and then we have Bhagavantang. Now we've had Bhagavata, and we've also had the instrumental form of this word. Here we have the accusative. Just notice that in Pali, the construction is you can say something to someone. You might expect that to be in the dative, but you can say something, someone. And in English, we have to say to someone. But in Pali, that someone is put into the accusative. So in our second sentence here, we can notice that this ekam antang nisino, though not an absolutive, really it's obviously continuing the nasidi. And we could probably drop it out in an English translation and end up with something like, he exchanged pleasantries, sat to one side, and then the wandering ascetic Vajragota said this to the Blessed One. If you read Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation in the Samyutta Nikaya, he has something like that. He takes it as basically one sentence. I would take Bhikkhu Bodhi as the gold standard for translation, of course. It's still, of course, good to understand how the Pali functions grammatically. Another interesting thing I should point out about ekam antang, this word anta is going to come up again in a little bit when Vajragota is speaking to the Buddha. Eka, of course, means one. It shows up in many places. You'll see it when speaking of absorption meditation, ekaggata, kind of like one-pointedness or deep concentration, deep absorption. So that is our passage for today. Tune in tomorrow for the content for what Vajragota has to say to the Buddha. Peace.